Well, welcome to Ravensdale Bible Academy. Today's course is Think Again Christian Fact Check. And the fact check that we're looking at today in today's lesson is going into debt and getting degrees for careers that don't exist. So the question is, are people really going into debt, getting college degrees for careers that don't exist? I mean, is that even a possible thing? Well, I'm here to tell you that it is possible, and there's several degrees that virtually will take you nowhere. Colleges are very, very happy to create degrees, but many of these degrees really have no end result. And so, why go into debt and get a degree for career that doesn't exist? Well, first, let's talk about what debt is, because maybe you don't know what debt is. You've heard the word, but you don't know what it means. Debt is literally owing somebody money. When you owe somebody money, you go into debt. And the typical college debt, that means the amount of money spent during college, and then by the time you graduate or are finished with college, you still owe money. So many times you're paying as you go, but you're not paying for the whole thing. It's like a payment plan. And so the average that most four-year college grads still owe is $32,000. Well, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to start your life, your career path off with a $32,000 debt hanging over your head. And so now college debt is typically considered an investment. So the question is, well, what's an investment? A debt traditionally is you owe somebody money and you just owe them, but an investment is a little bit different. An investment is you put your money somewhere, you spend money with the goal of that money generating more future income. Well, another name for that is ROI, or return on investment. So the idea behind college traditionally is, well, if I spend this amount of money today, tomorrow and forevermore in my future, I'll make way more money than that original investment that I made. And so you're actually planting for a harvest, right? And so that's not a bad thing. An investment is not a bad thing. A debt investment is usually not a bad thing. So the real question here is are we going into debt the right way? That's really our fact check. Are we going into debt the wrong way? And so the easy answer is, well, not all degrees are equal, right? You go into college and you get a degree to become a doctor or a lawyer, you'll probably most likely end up making way more than you paid. And so that would be a good investment. But there's some majors that are bad majors, and you can Google them and look them up, and they're very well known. And there's some majors, and why are they bad majors? They're bad majors because they typically don't really offer jobs. So you're majoring in something that really doesn't have a future job. So things like, or even yet, you just don't need a degree to get that job. So things like fine arts or drama, theater arts, film, videography, graphic design, philosophy, religious, English literature, anthropology, archaeology, hospitality, music, sociology. These are like the worst majors that you can get. And again, it's because these majors don't really lead you to a job. Well, the second level of bad degrees is, well, it's a bad return on the investment. Well, there may be jobs, there may be a lot of available jobs, but they're not good paying jobs. And so it's not a good investment. You wouldn't invest $5 to get a return of $3, right? That's losing money. And so some of the degrees that are considered the worst are things like astrobiology. So that's like being a a biologist on Mars. Well, there's not a big demand for that. Adventure education, you get a degree so that you can lead uh, canoe trips. Well, you don't need a degree for that, and there's not a big demand for that. Bagpiping, citrus studies, floral management, poultry science, puppet arts. That's right, you can major in puppet, you can major in surf. A lot of these LGBTQ, sex-oriented majors. Okay, what's the job for that? Things like African studies, some specific cultural studies. Well, okay, unless you're a teacher, what's the career? What's the job? Well, we want to look at the scriptures and see, well, again, if our question is um, going into debt, is that a good or a bad thing? And getting a degree that for careers that don't exist. So we're not arguing whether or not colleges are good or bad. What we're really trying to understand is the investment side. And so look at Proverbs 6, and we go back to looking at the ant. Proverbs 6:6 says, "Go to the ant, O sluggard, observe her ways and be wise." And so when we watch the ant, we want to observe, we want to watch, we want to examine to see, well, what's her an investment choice, right? Well, having no chief or officer or ruler, she prepares her food in the summer. So in the summertime, she works. She creates the income to then invest. And what does she do? She gathers her provision so that later on there's a harvest. So that's the idea, and the Bible promotes that. The Bible also talks about the talents, and it's okay to get five and create 10, right? That's a good thing. That's an admirable thing to gain more, to invest. So please don't hear me wrong. I'm not anti-college. I'm not anti even investing in college. What I'm not for is going to college, going into debt for college to get a degree that is a meaningless degree, that is not going to be a return on your investment, or is not going to lead you into an actual career path. And we talk a lot about that here at Ravensdale Bible Academy. Well, we go into debt for college uh, because it's a lot of it's pressure. We feel the pressure to go to college. We feel like the pressure from our family, community. People expect it, right? People expect it. But is it a wise choice? Well, bad debt is not a mystery. Everybody knows you don't go into bad debt. You don't go into a debt that you can't, or it doesn't look like you can pay. And so accumulating a big college debt can be a dangerous thing. Well, dirty jobs, if we're familiar with dirty jobs here at Ravensdale Bible Academy. And if you're not, dirty jobs came from the show Mike Rowe. He has a great show. You can go on YouTube and watch episodes. And what his goal was to show that, there are jobs that are dirty and hard work that nobody wants to do, but they pay well. That's a good thing. Things like, crime scene cleaner, garbage collector, oil rig worker, portable toilet cleaner, crab fisherman. There's a whole show, Deadliest Catch, based on that. There are jobs that are out there that you don't need a college degree, but you got to get dirty. I was involved in a hazardous waste company at one point in time, and you know what? All our workers, none of them had college degrees. None of them went to schooling for it. They just were willing to work hard. The other element is work hard, work dirty. But you know what? There are high-paying jobs that you can do without a degree. There's the list here: mining, a pile drive operator, rail car repairs, even the postal service is a whole career there. And so, look, you don't have to go into debt to go on a pathway that's going to take you nowhere. One of the things that we've really looked at is, well, we want to observe good solutions, right? So if we're going to look at this and say, well, it's not a great idea, this is a true statement, it's not a great idea to go into debt for a career that doesn't exist. True. Okay. Well, what's the solution? Well, the first solution is you can still go to school, just don't go into debt. Go to a smaller school, go to a less expensive school. Work while you go through school. Maybe you can go to a junior college first. And so there are several options to go to school without getting into debt. Maybe you take a little bit longer than the 3 or 4 years. The second is there's careers, really good careers in things like sales. It doesn't require a degree to be in sales, and many salespeople make 6 figures a year. And so it's not easy. It does take time. Usually you start slow, and especially because you're starting with no investment and maybe straight commission, you don't know how much you're going to make. And so that's the downside of sales. But you don't need a college degree. The third option is ownership. Why don't you just start your own company? If you have skills and you understand business, well, you know what? You don't have to go to college. You can just start your own company and get going by yourself. You can go to a special school like a VOTEC school, a training school, right? Get a certificate in something. And these are some really good pathways that we've discovered over the past few years. And so VOTEC training, good paying jobs, you're certified. And so they're a form of a degree, they're certificates. You can choose to be a blue collar worker. There's many organizations that you can work your way up, and you start at the bottom when you're young. You work your way into the management team, work your way into regional managers. They're good paying, they provide benefits, they provide retirement. But again, they kind of go back into that dirty jobs, hard work motif. Companies like Costco, Les Schwab, Kroger, these are what we would call cradle to grave, right? You work there, you don't jump around, you don't skip from job to job. You work with these companies from the beginning to the end, cradle to grave. So before you get into debt, debt with a degree because you went to college, don't do it if there's no end road. Don't do it if the job doesn't exist. Think again, Christian.